Hey everyone. So Kim Kardashian and Floyd Mayweather got into a little bit of trouble this week, perhaps being involved in a crypto scam. On this week's podcast, we outline why it's so important not to invest in a crypto coin solely based on a social influencer. Why? Find out now in our latest podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Traded Black Podcast, a division of the Dales Media Group. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Before we get into today's podcast, all views on the Traded Black Podcast and the guests on this podcast are purely opinion. You should not treat any opinions expressed by us or our guests as investment advice. The views on this podcast are solely intended to be informational and are not investment advice. Joining me as usual, millennial entrepreneur and contributor to the Dales Report, Anthony Varrell. Anthony, how was your week, brother?
Yeah, how's it going, Chad? Good. Another one in the books.
There we go. And look who's showing up in the middle. Jason Spatafora, WolfOfWeedST, our guest host, our guest that's participating in this week's podcast. Thanks for joining. How are things?
Things are good. Glad to be here finally during this illustrious trading day.
What? You think we're too good for you or something? What's going on? Nothing like that, right?
I mean, the times that you do these things are
during trading hours, which is not ideal.
Middle of peak trading hours. There's nothing to do after lunch on a Friday anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get you in and out of here. Let's get right into it. Where are our dopamines, as you mentioned during the holiday season? Let's get back to it, Jason. We're now in mid-January. Nothing has changed from a market perspective in the cannabis industry here in early 2022. Rumors of a possible expungement bill is on the horizon. So overall, Jason, what's your perspective right now, I guess, on the industry right now?
Yeah. So, as far as the capital markets are concerned, there's a huge dislocation, right? Look, I would say that, from a presidential year, we usually see bull markets. And within these bull markets, we have, 30 to 50% pullbacks. Now, heading into July of 21, everything was just kind of status quo. You get the pullback, then volume starts coming in. And then we had Booker come and say that, he would stand in front of safe banking and all this, which was a huge problem because all the people that bought the top in February, gravitated to this idea that, safe banking is everything. When in reality, we've never had safe banking. Growth has always been really strong. And they hijacked that idea. And then all of a sudden it was all anybody could ever talk about, and you throw that, the hijacking of an idea and really the sentiment, along with custody issues with the banks, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. If this idea wasn't hijacked, I have no doubt that the cannabis industry would have seen new all-time highs, at the end of 21 and even now, because that's how it's played out. When Canada, the same thing happened with the LPs. I remember 2016, Aurora going from, 50 cents to $3, back down to $1, up to 10, back down to 5 in the summer of 2018, and up to 12. And that was kind of across the board.
That was all in one day, right?
Oh,
Tilray
was all in one day.
Yeah,
when it made that massive move to the upside.
Right after Constellation, that was kind of the benefit of a float lock, where you see when there's no supply and there's over demand, you get Tilray going from 36 to 200.
Yeah, it was nuts,
crazy
in a week.
Anthony, do you agree with that? All-time highs that Jason just said?
I mean, I think it's refreshing because Jason's basically saying what I've been pounding the table on for the past couple of months. Like, it's a complete false notion that safe banking is everything to the cannabis industry. We got here without it. We're moving forward without it. Would it be better if we had it? Sure. But it's not hindering the fundamentals of the industry moving forward. I mean, I agree with every single thing that he just said. He couldn't be more right, which is why I was saying going into this year that I wouldn't be surprised if MSOS takes out the all-time high going into the end of this year. Granted, we need a couple of things to drop, and we need the macro environment to stay stable. But, I mean, yeah, I'm completely aligned with everything he just said.
So if you guys are saying that safe isn't everything, what is holding the industry back right now then from a pure...
It's paper retail. It's paper retail hands.
Yeah.
It's paper retail hands and it's lack of institutional capital. And I mean, until we can get that, I mean, we're kind of in this catch-22.
Yeah, it's kind of like this, right? The retail investors in the cannabis space, they are very good at hodling. They're not very good at taking profit when they should.
Yeah.
Like into the Mace press conference, look, I'm telling people, I'm like, take some off. It'll, at the very least, you'll feel good about it. Like you buy dips or average down, not to get back to your initial buy, but to, put some space in between you and that upper average.
Yes.
No, what they end up doing is they buy and then it rips. Then they realize they should have taken profit, and then it drops down a couple bucks, and then they're like, you know what? It's going to go right back. I'm going to buy even more. And then it keeps dipping. And then they bomb out at the lows. So most retail investors are capital starved. They're not looking at this from, a long-term perspective. They're not mad. They're not the best stewards of their own capital. Mm-hmm. And when retail is starved, then, that's why you just blow through supports.
Yeah.
And any one person, like if I decided today that I was just, over cannabis, I could drop the market. I could drop MSOS, not even selling MSOS, by selling my other positions 10% easy in a day, Now, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. But you need either 1,000 of me in the market that, are being responsible investors, right? And being a responsible investor in my eyes doesn't mean like you buy a position and you hold it for 5 years. Mm-hmm. You cannot do that in cannabis. Like I stick with an 80-20 rule. 80% of the position I know that I won't touch or won't go under, but I trade that other 20%. And that's what gives me that buffer. People in this space, they don't understand that. The other part is you have all of these people that are buying, these tier 3 and tier 4 MSOs because they're cheap,
Mm-hmm.
But they don't realize that these are all lotto tickets. When really what should be happening is nobody should buy tier 3s, tier 4s, or even half of the tier 2s. Everybody should just pile into the companies that are never going to need to raise capital, the ones that are cash flow positive, the ones that have spent the money via shares to plant flags all over the United States to give them the largest footprint.
Right.
When we do get that holy trinity of safe banking, 280E, descheduling, and the eventual uplist.
So if and when that does happen, Anthony, I know we've talked about this in the past, and I'd like to get maybe some feedback from both of you guys because you both seem aligned with your vision here. What are your top 2-3 picks within the industry as we head into 2022?
I mean, my top 3 picks right now are pretty easy. I'd go Curaleaf, Trulieve, Verano. Or no, Curaleaf, GTI, Verano would be my top 3. And those are set it and forget it. I mean, those are going to be generational wealth building stocks moving forward. That'll be the Philip Morris and the BAT of the cannabis sector, as far as I'm concerned.
Jason, what do you think to that?
Yeah, I mean, Curaleaf is my biggest position in the market. It's the only one that I still add every chance I get. But
what do you like specifically about them amongst the obvious?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'll give you my list. Okay, so yeah, I would say Curaleaf, Green Thumb, Verano, and I'd add True Leaf. You really can't go. You can't go wrong with those four. And the reason that I like Curaleaf is because one of the things is it's a very slow mover, which you would think, oh, you probably don't like that. But I trade other things in the market, and I trade a lot of options, and I take half of that option profit and I dump it into the stocks that I'm long. So basically, those shares become risk-free trades. But Curaleaf did what Green Thumb and True Leaf will have to do in the future, which is use shares to acquire companies. But they did a lot of this in 2018, 2019, and 2020 before there was this massive run-up. Okay, so they're not paying a giant premium on things. I mean, look, they bought Select for, I think, $300 million, something like that. Yeah. If Select was a public company, that'd be $1 billion company.
Yeah.
They bought the same footprint as Harvest for around $300 million in Colorado, right? They just did a deal recently, and they just did it with cash.
Yeah.
Right. And the note that, okay, you could convert this to shares, but Curaleaf's got to be over $17.50.
Yeah.
So, in terms of like operators, and people that really understand capital markets and, can do really unique and smart deals. I mean, Boris Jordan,
he's the best.
There's nobody that compares to him, and his whole thing is, we're going to grow, we're going to spend. He's taking basically the Amazon approach, right? Which means like, I mean, when Bezos, when the shareholders were like, and the analysts wanted Bezos, like, okay, show us some money,
keep spending.
He did it for like a quarter, and he's like, look, I can make money. Can I go back to investing in the business? And that's what Boris is doing. And the beauty of all of this carnage, if there is a silver lining in it, is all of these tier 2s and 3s, like right now, their whole exit is they want to be acquired.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to be acquired.
What are some of those 2 or 3 tier 2 type companies that you think will be acquired?
It's such a crapshoot, it's not even worth, like throwing out there. Okay. Because the probabilities are just so slim, and you have to treat some of these like options. Like, okay, so I think like a company like Forefront, okay, which trades at like $1.
Yeah.
They could get acquired.
Yeah.
Would I put a massive amount of money into Forefront? Absolutely not. I'd rather just be in the tier 1s, and let them buy them for parts. And also, this isn't just going on in the public markets. This is also going on with private companies. So the private companies don't have all of that legacy debt or stock out there, or, like a MedMen type thing, where it's just
your favorite company.
Yeah, where it's absolute chaos, right? So, I mean,
Anthony, what do you think of all this? It sounds pretty accurate and bang on.
I mean, I agree with Jason 100%. I mean, we align a lot of my philosophy on cannabis. We're aligned on. I mean, there's a couple tier 2 and tier 3 operators that you could take a flyer on, but I mean, putting a big amount of capital into it, it would just be stupid from a I guess a risk perspective on your portfolio. I mean, I'm stacking tier 1s. I know Jason's stacking tier 1s.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that I know that asks me what should I be doing with my money and what should I be investing in cannabis, I tell them tier 1s. Don't look anywhere else.
Yeah.
The risk premium is not worth it. And I mean, these guys make money, they have market share, and they're not going anywhere. They also have access to capital of everybody else. I don't think that anybody below tier 1 is really going to be able to get access to capital in the coming quarters. That's going to dry up very quickly because those institutional guys are going to see the writing on the wall that these are literally going to be broken down for pieces moving forward.
You ever seen a time where you've been looking at the tier 1s and the prices that they're at right now and the absolute growth opportunity, over the next, say, 12 to 24 months? Have you ever seen anything like this in any industry before?
No, but I mean, I also think it's a function of we're also in a high growth environment with an illegal product,
right?
At its core. I mean, if you were to take this entire sector and put it in the lens of an alcohol product or another CPG that had the same growth metrics and multiples, these companies would be 5 times as valuable right now. It's just a function of that we're hindered by regulation and it's still an illegal substance. As soon as that's dealt with, which it will be, forget about it. We're off to the races.
Yeah, that's the opportunity it presents. Go ahead.
Let me add this. Where else can you see the cost of debt go down? And the stocks go down, right?
Yeah.
And for the people watching, think of it in simple terms, like real estate. Okay, interest rates go down, the price of real estate goes up. Okay, interest rates go up, the price of real estate goes down. If a company, so the cannabis companies 2 years ago, all right, were paying like 20% interest, and you factor in warrants and it can get swollen. Now they're doing deals at under 10%. Curaleaf just did one at 8%.
Right.
Curaleaf did one at 8%. Curaleaf had one that was at 12%, and then they got another one to cover the first one at 8%. It's a savings of like 20 million, and the stock goes down. Where in any other sector, Wall Street would basically put that difference onto the market cap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you save 10%. We're gonna add 10% to the market cap, right? Because that's how it should be. Now, this is where the tier 1s and everybody else differ. That's not going to be the same for a Forefront, for a Columbia Care, for
how so? Can you explain?
Because they don't generate the type of cash flow.
No.
Okay.
And cash flow is what is going to make the bank say, "Oh yeah, like you're going to be solvent. You're not going to zero. Like you can pay for this just with your operation." The other companies, they need capital to keep going. And where are they going to go right now?
Yeah.
So they're going to have to do down round financing, which is going to put pressure on the stock. And then if they need to raise capital again, they're going to do another down round financing. They're going to get killed. The same thing happened with the LPs. Once you show that you can't execute on your model, that's
You're
it.
done.
It's game over. And that's why in October of 2018, I was out like 80% because then it became an execution story. And by March of 2019, it was really clear, like they just weren't going to execute.
Yeah.
And it was time to get out.
So if you guys like tier 1s, and we keep talking about that, what would you say are 2, 3 of the major catalysts that you'd be looking at for them to achieve here in 2022? Or is there 2 or 3?
I mean, I would say regulatory, and then we get inflation under control, because I know that is part of the narrative right now. The cost of the inputs is going up, as well as just labor and the utilities, adding to the and falling cannabis price. I mean, that's something that a lot of people are talking about. But I mean, I would say the main catalysts right now are just the regulatory uncertainty. As soon as that gets ironed out, I feel like we're going to start to trend up. If we don't, then I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I would say that, a big catalyst would be the custody issue with banks. Because, the prices of some of these companies, and the multiples on them are so ridiculous. They're really hard to ignore. And, the Jeffries, the Needhams, all these investment banks, they have somebody dedicated to it, but there's no institutional ownership unless they're going direct to the company. They want to be buyers. So it's a situation where, the funds aren't the buyers, can't be buyers, but some of the analysts or their wives are buying,
Yeah.
But that doesn't really make much of a difference. What was it last year? Was it Wasatch? Anthony, it was a forced sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this fund had hundreds of millions of dollars in like the top MSOs, and they had to do a forced liquidation, which put a lot of pressure on the market, which if they could come back, they basically sold the top.
Yeah.
Now they can come in and basically have a risk-free position. And some banks, said that they were going to try and resolve this because their clients were asking for it. So, yeah, I think custody is a big issue. I want to see some kind of expungement just to get, Booker and Schumer, off this kick of like trying to get their CAOA bill passed, which will never pass. And that way we can just go to safe banking. But yeah,
here's something to think about too. What happens at next year's midterms if the Republicans take over the Senate again? Like, is that a good or a bad thing for the industry?
Okay, so I have a take on it.
Okay.
Look, a lot of Republicans, their constituency wants cannabis, and this is an issue that has primarily been held by Democrats. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, Biden campaigned on like, oh, we're going to expunge records, we're going to decriminalize all this stuff. He hasn't done any of it, right?
Like none.
None.
Like zero. And the Republicans, like they see money, which is why they're all for SAFE. So I think, I think SAFE happens with Republicans, but all of the stuff that the Democrats want, their unicorn bill, as I put it, it's never going to happen.
No.
Okay. And I think at that point, like if they're trying to campaign on getting something done, they've already lost a lot of Democrats and even Republicans that were kind of, for them, because they just can't be trusted right now. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, they had the easiest win possible, something with huge bipartisan support, and they didn't go for it because they don't even understand what safe banking really does, right? And even when the minority stakeholders in the cannabis industry are begging for it,
your mind away. Is that not?
It blows my mind. But it's also like, think about how many people, are going to be robbed, are going to suffer something traumatic because these companies still have to vault tons of cash.
It's crazy.
That's crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's
nuts.
It's time to remove the Mr. Belvederes of the world in government, to say the least. I wanted to ask you guys one last thing about cannabis. If you guys want to be doctors for a second, but what was your reaction this week about cannabis possibly preventing COVID? And on that note, should we spark up right now?
It's a pump headline as far as I'm concerned. If they go and prove that it's got medical efficacy, great. Yeah. If not, I tweeted about it. I then put it to bed after that. I think
you're not reading much into this.
No. I mean, what? Even if it's true, what's everybody going to do? Start smoking weed as a preventative against COVID, or we're going to start passing out THC pills as a prophylactic against COVID? Like,
it's an idea.
Sure, maybe. I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's not practical.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's efficacy there, awesome. Maybe they can use it down the road for some other kind of research. But for me, it was in one ear and out the other, and now I'm back to normal. I don't think it's much of anything.
Yeah, I didn't give it any air. Like, people were sending me links. Like,
oh yeah.
They're like, you should tweet this out. I'm like, no, I'm not going to tweet it. I was like, because it doesn't matter. Again, the separation between the real world and then capital markets. It's not even worth, like, because I don't, I'm so mindful of what I put out there now, because I don't want stupid ideas hijacked.
Right?
Yeah.
Like safe banking. Like, you never heard anything from me from the summer of 20 into February 21 about safe banking. If I mentioned safe banking, it would always be that it was just kind of a bonus, right? That these companies were getting on without it.
Change the narrative and the mindset.
Yeah. So, and along the way, I don't want to see another issue hijacked. I mean, look, I can tell you, like, it's, one safe
there are
banking,
some pumpers out.
Move on to the next one. They're going to 280E, right? But that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah. I want to shift now to psychedelics. Don't look now, Anthony, but Atai Life Sciences is trading under $6. $6. What's your reaction to this? Is it a time to buy, knowing like this is a company that's got $450 million in the bank and a deep pipeline? But again, this isn't investment advice, but what are your thoughts on getting in now?
I mean, serendipitously enough, I was talking to Jason about this yesterday afternoon. I mean, I picked up 1,200 shares yesterday, added to my position. It was at 640. I mean, here's the thesis. If they have IP, they have cash, and if psychedelics have efficacy, and someone's going to come and buy them out, like we saw GW, or like we saw any of the other pharma companies in these nascent industries, it's worth over $1 billion. So, I mean, I'm buying it here as a trade. It could go to 3. It could go to 18. I mean, I think it's, from a risk-reward perspective, it's about in that range to where I'm going to start buying, which I did yesterday. I'll probably buy some next week as well, just to get the position up to where I want it to be. But I think it's a good buy here. I could be also very wrong. But I am putting my own money into it now.
Jason, do you follow the psychedelic space much? And if so, like, what are your thoughts on where Atai is right now?
I've been buying Atai aggressively.
Have you?
Okay. Yeah, aggressively. And, I have other positions in psychedelics. Look, I think it's one of those things where people don't really understand the industry. If we go back 2 months or, early November, when we were waiting on data from Compass to show efficacy in one of their drugs, every analyst or everybody that understood the nature of this industry and the opportunity couldn't be happier. The only thing that people would say, and I would say this, is maybe their messaging on it for Compass could have been a little bit clearer, a little bit better. With that said,
welcome to the world of psychedelics.
Everything that I wanted to see. I mean, that morning I bought Atai at 18.
Yeah, the market's gotten wrecked.
And
since that announcement, the market has gotten just wrecked.
The crazy thing happened is you look at.
Do you know Compass is down 57% since that announcement? 57%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look
at Cybin.
Compass, Cybin, Atai, that day all got upgrades.
Yeah.
Compass upgrade from 79 to 117. Cybin got another upgrade to like $7. And I think Atai was like 42. But you have a lot of traders in there that, again, they're not looking at this, long term. Look, but I look at it like this.
Could I chime in there for a second? Do you think institutions are going to get in relatively soon? It's conversations that you continue to hear more and more, and it's based on the pure data and efficacies that a lot of these companies are producing, which they're not only good, they're great. like Awaken Life Sciences this week and the research that they did related to ketamine and alcoholic use disorder. Like it was like over a 90% success rate. And these are the continuing things that we continue to hear within the industry. So based off of that, does it only seem like a matter of time before institutions do step in?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Also, you also have to realize, like, it's a target-rich environment in the market right now. So it's kind of like cannabis, right? Like cannabis is getting killed, and psychedelics. It's like, okay, well, how much, there's low-hanging fruit other places. Look, biotech's a much tougher trade. Yeah. But if you go back and you look at, really the things that Atai is, their pipeline is bigger than anybody. They own 20% of Compass, right? So really, basically, that 20% is their price right now. Mm-hmm. If you look at it that way, they're not even trading with, like, you're not even factoring in the cash. But, if you look at it like, okay, let's say they do get a drug to market for depression. Yeah. Right? What is that worth? Right? Well, for a company like Eli Lilly, when they got Prozac to market, which was a really dirty drug, and Eli Lilly's market cap is like $230 billion. That became a generic in 2002. Yeah. They still account like 30% of Eli Lilly's market cap is basically Prozac.
And you add in to more and more companies doing less and less research related to depression based on what's happened in the past, it's a real possibility that this could come to fruition, right?
Yeah, look, I'm not saying, and also a lot of people think that psychedelics you'd be surprised, are attached to cannabis.
Yeah, I know.
People are going to be selling magic mushrooms, and I swear it's so crazy. They're like, oh, is there news in cannabis? Why is it tied down? I was like, dude, don't.
Yeah, there's no correlation. There's zero correlation whatsoever. Yeah.
Anthony, what's the biggest difference between how the psychedelic industry trades versus, say, the cannabis? Like, what's something that?
To be honest, right now, there's no difference. They're completely just going to the fucking floor. To be honest. But I would say mostly, the cannabis sector, it's easily digestible for retail investors. Like, they can understand it. It's a CPG. You grow X and you sell Y. Psychedelics, I think, is a very difficult industry to understand. It's an institutional level trade. It takes institutional level intelligence, also paired with the fortitude to be able to go long and withstand going from 18 to 6. But I just think it's a much more, it's just a much larger bear to comprehend and actually understand what you're investing in versus cannabis. Mm-hmm. But the market trends are exactly the same right now. Mm-hmm. They're both just straight left to right.
Yeah. Let's focus now. Last segment, crypto. This week, obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum trending down again. Anthony, any cause for concern? What do you see happening here in the short-term outlook?
I think this is all macro-driven. You saw the Nasdaq's gotten crushed the past 2 weeks. There was a lot of institutional capital that came into the crypto space over the past 6 to 8 months. I'm really do truly believe that capital got washed out, which took it down to below 3K. Those institutions, if they're looking at their P&Ls and their portfolios, they're not going to go sell Tesla. They're going to have to get rid of Ethereum first and pare down that exposure when the Nasdaq's dropping. I think that's already happened. Ethereum, the last time, was in a 45-day downtrend and then aggressively ripped to the upside. We're in day 42 of this trend down with Ethereum. I'm looking at mostly like ancillary L1s right now as a hedge against Ethereum. So I'm going into like Avalanche, Cosmos, Luna, into some other L1 chains and some L2 things, just because I think Ethereum might be tapped out right now from a market cap perspective, and those smaller L2s and L1s are going to start warranting more capital as they have more upside.
Why do you think Ethereum's tapped out right now?
I don't think it's tapped out. But let's just be real. It's gone from 500 to 4,000 in a year. Yeah. That's a pretty damn aggressive move to the upside. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm very bullish on crypto, but you got to kind of take a breather and you got to kind of reach I don't want to say terminal velocity, but you got to reach the ceiling to where you really should be from a fundamental perspective. And I mean, while it's still growing and it's still on pace to be the fastest technology ever adopted by humans, I think that move to the upside is a little bit exhausted by the amount of capital that was printed around COVID, paired with inflation, paired with institutional capital. I would just be looking elsewhere, and I know a lot of the big boys out there like Novogratz and a bunch of the other crypto traders are looking for the value plays now in those Ethereum hedges as well as L2 solutions for Ethereum.
You brought up briefly Tesla. Elon Musk announced this week that Tesla will now start accepting Dogecoin as means of payment to buy Tesla merchandise. And I guess no surprise, Dogecoin obviously jumped in price. Publicity stunt?
Yeah, it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
I wish Elon would shut up about crypto, to be honest. I bought Tesla 2 weeks ago for the first time due to those delivery numbers. And they're going to start going into more home batteries and just other applications of their technology. So I'm bullish on Tesla, but I wish Elon would shut up about crypto. Dogecoin is a joke. It can't handle the transaction volume to ever be an actual crypto that drives commerce. It's a fucking dog on a meme. And I mean, I wish he would literally just shut up about it. If they're going to accept anything, start accepting Bitcoin, accept Ethereum, accept BitPay. You don't have to go select an actual currency to be transacting Teslas with. It's a complete just media relations campaign.
Jason, isn't it wild the influence that some of these celebrities have on retail investors across the world?
I mean, that's also part of it, right? It's really good. I mean, look, Elon's an unbelievable marketer.
Oh, yeah,
right?
he's the best.
Unbelievable.
So, what do? He basically attracts different cults to his company.
Yeah.
And eventually the Dogecoin people will start, investing in real companies.
Oh, yeah.
And then they move on and then they find Tesla and then, Tesla keeps going and, but the same thing, like I don't trade Tesla. Like I won't touch Tesla. I don't trade Tesla options. I think, the worst thing that could happen to you if you trade Tesla options and you're somebody new to options is you make money the first time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because then
that's the worst thing for anybody trading options.
You think that it really is. You think that it's really easy. And then the next time you just get destroyed, So, I mean, Tesla, it's not a car company. It's a technology company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You talked about marketers. Big news this week, obviously. Where are we with certain coins? Like, there's so reckless spending right now going on. You bring in people like Floyd Mayweather, Kim Kardashian.
Shag your volume. I can't hear you.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, you sound like you're completely far away from the mic.
Okay, I'll start that over again. Jason, you mentioned marketers. This week, obviously, big news. Both Floyd Mayweather and Kim Kardashian got into a little bit of trouble, actually a lot of trouble, with supposedly a crypto scheme. Where are we now in times, Anthony, when it comes to different coins that people are buying? It seems like there's a lot of reckless spending going on right now with coins having certain to no values. So what are the big concerns that people need to be aware of? But most importantly, where are we at right now with a lot of this? Is it fair to say there's just reckless spending going on everywhere and influencers are just hopping on?
Yeah, there's completely reckless spending. The problem is social media influencers have hijacked the investment sector. I mean, from an NFT perspective, a general rule of thumb, if there's a celebrity pumping it, if there's influencers involved, don't touch it. Otherwise, it's a very easy way to lose money. The whole Kim Kardashian, Ethereum Max thing. I mean, granted, if you're taking financial advice from Kim Kardashian, you probably deserve to lose your entire principal. I mean, I wouldn't exactly be taking financial advice from her, but you got to understand, any celebrity and any influencer that is sitting there pumping a less than ideal crypto project is 1000% getting paid on the other side of the table at a much lower cost than you. And if anything, they're selling into you. They're not buying alongside of you. They bought way before they start the campaign. I mean, I hope they throw the book at her. I think that influencers and celebrities need to get out of crypto, need to stop. If they want to genuinely participate, back a project, buy an NFT, put up a PFP, that's great. But to sit there and say to their followers in the millions that, oh yeah, you're going to make 10x on this, or get in now and you're going to make X amount of money, like get the fuck out of here. Like that's just not there's no place for that with what we're doing. And I mean, it's rampant in the stock market with TikTok, and it's translated over to crypto. I mean, I think that they're going to catch a couple of these people and they're just going to throw the book at them, and then people are going to get out of the way and be like, yeah, I can't be exposed to that moving forward.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, especially TikTok or Twitter, right? Like I could probably name 10 people off the top of my head just on Twitter that are doing the most illegal shit.
Oh yeah,
like the craziest, most illegal stuff.
Yep.
Blatantly, right? They don't even realize how illegal it is what they're doing.
So let's fast forward this. It's one thing to get fined, but do you think some of these people, and I don't want to pretend you're a lawyer and everything, but is this serious enough people are going to see jail time?
No.
No.
They're making, because here's the thing. A lot of these people are making so much money hand over fist that they'll just pay a fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like the SEC just doesn't have the manpower to go after it. And now, because you're talking about social media, it's from everywhere. So it's like, who do you go after? Right. And it comes down to like, okay, well.
But to Anthony's point, do you think they throw the book at a big name just to set an example?
They won't do jail time. I mean, you could say, okay, you'll slap them with what? A $3 to $5 million fine, but I mean, Kim Kardashian or Floyd Mayweather doesn't care about that.
No,
that's just like that's a rounding error for them. But I mean, people need to get smarter. Like, you're not going to get rich quick by whatever you hear on social media. It is never going to happen. I mean, you can get lucky that one time, like Jason said. God forbid someone makes money their first time trading Tesla options. That is not going to be the trend. Like you, in order to make money in financial markets, you need to dedicate yourself. You need to have smarts, and you need to actually know what you're doing. You're not going to listen to Kim, put some money in a coin, and then it 10x's. That's never a way to make a financial gain. Yeah.
One trend that's not going away, and you talk about smart. CNBC reporting this week how more and more big companies out there continue to buy digital real estate in the metaverse. Before we get into all that, Anthony, I just wanted to ask, and this is actually a question that was asked by one of our YouTube subscribers named Jesh, who asked us, how can I buy land in the metaverse? What would your answer be to that?
I mean, buying land in the metaverse is exactly the same process as buying an NFT. If you have a crypto account that you can clear money to, if you've got a MetaMask, you can go and buy Decentraland, BYO land, Sandbox. You can go buy freely whatever land you please in the metaverse, just like you would buy an NFT. They're all listed on OpenSea. It's a very easy process. There's a lot of inflated land out there right now, so I would definitely be careful and strategic with what you're buying. I mean, I've been buying and accumulating it for probably like the past year. I mean, I've got a decent amount of plots in several metaverses. I've also sold a bunch of it, as some of it I'm up 20x on from when I bought it. But I mean, it's simply just like buying an NFT. Exact same process.
Where do you think we are? Paint the picture. I know it's a long ways away, but how much is digital real estate going to be part of our lives in 10 years from now?
I don't think it's going to be. It's a strong statement, but I think the metaverse truly is a fad. I don't think you're going to be able to create all of these fragmented platforms, such as Sandbox, Decentraland, etc., and actually have them have substantial market share. Because, I mean, why am I going to go into the Sandbox and go plug into Decentraland? I mean, a lot of people need to look at what happened in Web 2, from Web 1 to Web 2, and there were AOLs that took place. There were Netscapes that took place. And I mean, those were all the first companies to market. Right now, when you look at Web3 and you look at crypto, we're really all beta testers. These are all the first platforms out there. Like, I think there's going to be a metaverse platform. I'm pray to God it's not Facebook that comes out there and really builds a global platform that you can plug into from a Web3 perspective. But I mean, I'm also in the camp that the metaverse really means when you value your digital identity versus your physical identity. Like right now, I value my digital footprint much more than I value my physical footprint. I mean, I do it through Twitter. I do it through my NFT collection, through crypto, the way that I communicate and converse with people. I mean, I'm plugged in all day to Discord, Twitter, etc. That's how I absorb information. And I value that right now 10x versus what I'm engaging with in the physical world on a daily basis. I would kind of define the metaverse as being that right now. 10 years from now, we might all be living in it in VR for all we know.
Jason, you're a Gen Xer. What's your thoughts about this whole metaverse approach? It moves fast, does it not, and has a language of its own?
Man, it really does move fast. I'm like, I wonder what my kids are going to be trading. I wonder what kind of, like, my kid's going to, what kind of plot of land my kid's going to want. Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that I have somebody that is able to invest for me in the metaverse and NFTs, because honestly, I have no clue. I really don't. Like, being really good at the stock market is a full-time job.
Yep.
Then it's like at some point you have to defer to smarter people. That's why I defer to Anthony. I mean, I'm look, people reach out to me. I get messages, hey, you're going to start your own NFT. Like, you should do your own NFT. And I'm always like, dude, I have no clue. And I was like, if that day comes, I'll just ask Anthony.
Yeah.
All right. So Anthony, if you ever want to do like a Wolf of Weed Street NFT,
I mean, I got the guys to develop it.
We just do 420 of them, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
Right?
Why don't we do an NFT based on that picture in the background? Looks pretty slick.
Yeah, you could do. I have an Andy Warhol that's an original that we could do.
That'll NFT.
Yeah. So I mean, I was, truth be told, this weekend I tried going down this little rabbit hole on real estate, and I just gave up after like an hour and a half. I was like, I'm like downloading OpenSea, and I'm just like, I'm not going to do any of this now, because I don't want to be one of those people, and I'm cognizant of that because I'm in the market. Yeah, like, all right, chasing some kind of shiny object because you just keep hearing it. It's like, back in the day, like 150 years ago when they heard about gold in California, by the time that news made it to the East Coast, and then the East Coast people, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go mine gold. They get to California and all the gold's mined out. Yeah. So I always keep that in the back of my head. But like, I'm already positioned. I just have no clue, like, in what I'm positioned in. Yeah. I get these little quarterly updates.
I know you're working on an NFT project now, Anthony. You'll probably have more information on that later on down the road. But definitely a world of its own. Jason, honestly, appreciate the time for checking in here today on our podcast. It's been great having you. Anthony, always awesome having you on as usual. Thanks for checking in, gents, and we appreciate the feedback.
Yep.
Thanks,
have a good rest of the week, guys.
All right. Take care.